guys, it is the Voodoo Doll from Noir Grimoire, and today I'm going to be talking to you about one of my favorite topics, which is suggestibility and sexuality. Sexuality. Sexuality doesn't necessarily mean what the word connotates in this context, so we're just going to go over these two things and set the foundation for learning more later on, because it's kind of a deep topic. So we're just going to basically talk about what they are now, and my goal is to work towards providing these workings or these services in January, closer to Valentine's Day. I want to get you guys right for Valentine's Day. Some of us are so messed up in regards to just how we function, how our lover functions. A lot of it is miscommunication. Sometimes the guy really is an asshole. I mean, let's not rule that out either. But this is something that I think would really help when we're doing those love workings, we're doing those obsession spells. We really need to know who we're doing them on and who we are. Knowing yourself allows you to communicate and kind of be able to respond appropriately to people. Before I knew this myself, I would say, wow, I didn't know how out of proportion my reaction was to what this person said. It's because I just didn't understand how this person needed to hear information, and they didn't know how I needed to hear information. So it allows you to take, I guess, the taking things personal out of your everyday interactions, and not just between lovers, between friends, business partners, parents, siblings. It works. So let's just get into the basics of it. What is suggestibility? Suggestibility is how we take in information. It's how we learn. So our suggestibility is established between the ages of 0 to 8. Also in that time, we have our formative years between the ages of 0 and 6. This is really when we start forming an idea of who we are. Most children know their sexuality and if they want to believe in God or not between the ages of 0 and 6. So it's a very important time. But in terms of suggestibility, it's how we take in information. We get our suggestibility normally from our primary caretaker. Like in archaic, 60s books, it would tell you the mom, but we know today that mom is not always the primary caretaker. Some dads stay at home with their children. We have same-sex marriages now. So the primary caretaker is not always going to be mom, and the secondary caretaker is not always going to be dad. So the suggestibility comes from the primary caretaker. There are two different types of suggestibility. So we have physical suggestibility and emotional suggestibility. Physical suggestibility means that you learn literally. So this means that mom or primary caretaker spoke in a literal sense. If they said, we're going to have dinner at 6 o'clock and then we're going to brush our teeth and go to bed, that's what it was, with no variation. If you asked the caretaker something, they told you the truth, and it was straightforward. You didn't try to have to discern in between the pieces. If you're emotional suggestibility, that means that mom or primary caretaker spoke on the inference. You had to learn on the inference, meaning what is inferred, what isn't said. So if your primary caretaker would tell you, okay, we're going to eat dinner at 6 o'clock and then we're going to go to bed at 7, and you chipped away at them, oh, mom, please, I don't want to go to bed at 7. Come on. What if I wash the dishes? What if I do this? And mom says, oh, okay, just stop asking me. Sure, you can go to bed at 8. That's the inference. By her giving in and allowing you to stay up till 8, is inferred that if you chip away at mom or primary caretaker, you can get your way. Another example of inference would be mother telling you, I love you, but the tone is wrong. Like, I love you, whatever. That's not the tone or the vibration for love. So then the child is having to try to discern if mom or caretaker really loves me, or if there's something else there. Emotional suggestibility is one of the ones that I think a lot of people have difficulty admitting it with themselves, and also difficulty dealing with other people that are emotionally suggestible, because they don't accept things at face value. They need facts. They need more information. They're going to question you. They're going to ask you 1,000 little questions, and you're like, dude, I literally just said, meet me there at 6 o'clock. You don't have to ask me 15 things. Just meet me there at 6. But they're an emotional suggestible, so they don't take it literally like a physical suggestible was. So that's the difference between the two. Excuse me. If you are right in the middle, and you're someone that is dead half center, 50-50, 50 emotional, 50 suggestible, then that means that you're a somnambulist. So somnambulism is being right in the middle. And there are tests that you can take to figure out if you're physical or if you're emotional. But the main point of this video is to talk about sexuality. So I just went over suggestibility very, very quickly. It's how we take in information. We learn it from our primary caretaker. We're either physical, which we are literal. We literally learn from literal, just facts, or we are emotional, which means we learn on the inference. So that is how we take in information. This is how we put out information to the world. How we come off in the world is sexuality. Sexuality basically means behavior. And here's where the problem resides in a lot of our relationship problems. This is why we're doing love spells, obsession spells, love reanimation spell, cleansings on people, is the sexuality. It's the behavior. We don't understand how each other acts, how they need to be approached, and what their behavior means. So this is the big thing I want to work on for Valentine's Day, is helping you determine, first of all, if you are emotional or physical, and then working on your partners, and then figuring out how to speak each other's languages. So let's go over sexuality. Again, we just said sexuality is behavior. Again, there's two different types of sexuality, emotional and physical. Emotional tends to be a little more in their mind, and physical is a little more, outward and outgoing. I'm going to read to you some traits of the emo and physical. First, I forgot to tell you how it's learned. So in our formative years, 0 to 8, we are learning suggestibility from primary caretaker. Sexuality is learned from the ages of 9 to 14, and this is from our secondary caretaker. If you are from a single parent home, you'll probably learn your sexuality, your behavior from someone at school, someone you look up to. It could be a grandparent, a sibling. It's a secondary person that influences the way that you are by how they act with primary. If they do not interact with primary, then just take that part out. It's how they relate to other people. So if you are in a two-parent home, and let's just say primary is mom, secondary is dad. If mom is primarily physical and she always says things literally, most likely your dad or secondary is going to be an emotional, because opposites attract. So we learn and look at how secondary gets the attention of primary. If secondary walks in and kisses mom and snuggles her and pulls her down in his lap and is giving her physical attention, which is taking that attention away from us as children, we learn, oh, okay, so to get mom's attention, I need to be more physical. So you may learn to go up and hug your mom randomly, or give your mom a kiss on the cheek, or, go sit on your mother's lap. You mimic that behavior. That's how you are to the world. You grow up and you're physical, because secondary was physical. If your primary was the flip, let's say your primary was so we did the physical, let's say emotional. So if primary is physical and dad or secondary is emotional, you would see your mom coming towards the emotional, because emotionals usually aren't that physical. They're a little withdrawn, maybe not that affectionate. So you see that by being kind of standoffish and maybe not being too talkative or too involved, that mom comes to secondary and says, how was your day? She initiates conversation. She's catering to the person. She's pulling conversation out of them. Maybe she's going over and hugging them. Then you learn, okay, to get mom's attention, which we all want more of mom's attention when we're children, I have to play it cool. I have to be a little standoffish. Maybe I'm going to be short in the way I respond to my mother. Maybe I'm going to be withdrawn and stay in my room all day because I want her to come and ask me how everything's going. You're learning it from the behavior in your home. And who we are from 9 to 14, sadly enough, shapes who we are for the rest of our life if we don't work on it. No matter how toxic it is, we will keep doing it and repeating it because it's what we know. So let's go through the ENP, the emotional and physical personality types, and you can kind of see where you fall. Our emo tendencies, we're going to be reserved. I'm emotional. So reserved, head ruled, controlling, want space and security, prefers socializing one-on-one, singular focus, thinks before reacting, prefers showing affection privately, distrusts flattery, enjoys working alone, enjoys individual activities, wants alone time, dresses for comfort, decides after thinking about it, speaks literally to the point, infers from what others say, feels emotional pain in the mind, and fears loss of security. That's emotional. Now, a lot of you will say, okay, well, that fits me to a T, but when I read the other one, you'll be confused because maybe some of this fits you. It's not 100%. Of course, there's going to be some gray areas, but these are the tendencies that they have found that are alike in testing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that have the emotional personality. These are the main things that stick out. So for the physical personality, physical tendencies, outgoing, heart-ruled, dominating, wants connection and touch, enjoys socializing in groups, moving focus, reacts spontaneously, comfortable with affection anytime, likes reassurance and compliments, enjoys working with people, enjoys team activities, wants to be together all of the time, dresses for attention, decides in the moment, speaks inferentially, adds story, takes literally what others say, feels emotional pain in body and mind, and fears rejection. The top 4 priorities in order. So for an emotional, their top 4 priorities are their career and financial security is number 1. Number 2, hobbies and children. Number 3, relationships and family. Number 4, sex and lovers. For your physical tendencies, their number 1 priority, relationships and sex. 2nd, family and children. 3rd, friends and hobbies. 4th, career and financial security. So what does all of that mean? What it means is this. We are normally going to attract our opposite. There are percentages of what we're going to be. So if you were to take this test, which I'm going to be offering in January, it'll tell you the exact percentage of emotional you are and the exact percentage of physical you are. Whatever the higher score is what you claim. So if it's 51-49, you're going to go with the 51%. Even though it's that close, you're going to say, I'm a whatever that percentage is. It helps you relate to your partner. So I know that if I am 54% emotional, then that means that I probably have attracted a physical, because opposites attract. And the percentage you are is the percentage that you will go all the way to the left and go overboard when things go wrong, when you're in the trauma stage. So if you are 54% emotional like I am, if you piss me off and we get into drama, I'm going to go 54% emotional, which means I'm probably going to be half withdrawn, give you your space. I'm not going to bug you too much. I may try to reach out a little bit, but I'm pretty much going to back off. I'm going to use distance to heal because I need to think about it. And I need to think of exactly what I'm going to say. I do a lot of introspection and retrospection. Now, on the opposite, if I was, let's say, at 80% physical and we got into drama, I'm going to be up in your face. 80% physical, extremely outgoing. I'm going to reach out. What's wrong? Physicals need touch to feel everything's okay. They might want to come over and talk to you in person, because on the phone doesn't get it, because they need to reach out and say, I'm sorry. You know, physicals usually always reach and try to touch you, or they want a hug, or they want sex after an argument. They're the opposite. They need that to feel like everything is okay. And the emotional is the opposite. So if we are dating our opposite self and we don't even know what we are, it'd be very hard to navigate arguments or miscommunications if we don't know exactly what makes that person tick. So that's why it's a really, really good idea to figure out your sexuality so you know how to relate to your other partner. With this course that I'm going to be offering in January, I'm also going to either include a book or suggest a book that gives you 100 and some odd pages of exactly how to determine how to work with the other half, how to repair your relationship, how to move past it, the trauma, how to date again, how to find somebody new, how to gauge new experiences and new people, how to attract new love. That's the right type of love that you want in your life. I'm also going to be doing my yearly Valentine's Day rituals, but with this I want to do the emotional sexuality testing and physical sexuality testing for you guys, figure out your personality type, and if we're going to do new love manifestation, then we know exactly who we're trying to manifest, what personality type the guy needs to be. They have done studies on hetero personality, or no, I'm sorry, homo personality types, which would mean emotional and emotional, physical and physical. Those relationships can work, but it's quite difficult if you are so much alike. There will be variations, but it's hard. You butt heads because you're both alike. Could you imagine if two emotionals were dating, and when they get into an argument, an emotional usually retreats? So who reaches out first? Who makes the first phone call? Who texts first? Who sends the first letter? Do I never talk to this person again? Do I just ghost them? What do I do? Like, emotionals are in their head. So if you were to take this test and we decide that you're an emotional and your partner is emotional, you'll learn how to move on with that emotional relationship, because you know, okay, this person doesn't have as much information about this that I do, obviously, right now. I'm going to reach out first, and I'm going to be the one to bridge that trauma or bridge that disconnect, because now I know how I am as an emotional, and I know how they function as an emotional. It really is priceless information. So I know that's mind-boggling. We keep throwing around suggestibility, sexuality, emotional, physical. It gets easier, but this is something that I think I'm going to lecture on for quite a few months next year, to just try to get our relationships on track, try to get how we relate to other people on track, and try to get how we relate to ourselves on track. A lot of us don't know ourselves, and if we start unpacking things and you realize that I learned how I receive information from my primary caretaker, and you go back and you start looking at your mom or whoever your primary caretaker is, I think you'll start to see the connection. Oh, I don't believe a damn thing people say, because my mom never was a straight shooter. She would say one thing, and then when I did it, I would get my ass beat. So that made you emotional. You had to learn on the inference, and you had to keep asking questions and trying to decipher what's the unsaid, because you weren't in an environment where the person was literal. You always had to kind of fend for yourself and figure things out for yourself. So when you meet someone and they are telling you the truth, you think they're lying, or you're challenging them, and you're, trying to make them prove they love you and all these things. It's because of your childhood and who you were raised by that has made you this way, and you're taking it out on your partner. And that's why your relationships don't work. That's why you call me every month. And that's why it's going to keep happening, because you don't know yourself. You have to know yourself. You have to be able to check yourself and shut off that bad mental chatter in your mind and saying, this was then, I was a child, this was that caretaker, everybody else in the world is not this person. And learning to discern that when that thing starts nagging at you that they're lying, no, I don't know that. Let me get a little more information, or let me just chill out and let information present itself without me pushing for it, especially if you know that other person's personality type, which would be a great thing to give your lover the test that I'm going to offer, and knowing that, okay, wow, I learned an emotional, I learned on the inference, but my lover is physical. So what he says, he means, because that's how his mother raised him. That's how she interacted with him. Everything she said was law, and there was no deviation, no variation. So knowing that, it should allow you to say, okay, I can kind of chill out a little bit, because I know that this person was raised literally. So what they're saying to me normally is literal. It's the truth. They mean it. Another thing with the sexuality, again, is your behavior. Look at your secondary caretaker. Was your secondary caretaker your dad, your grandma, whoever it was, or maybe you were from a single parent home and you didn't have someone in the home? Who did you look up to? Who are you modeling your behavior after? If it's a teacher at school that was very influential, a football coach, a basketball coach, you'll be able to kind of pick it out. Oh, I get it. Like that, they had this thing where they were very boisterous and loving. And so, okay, you're starting to figure out that person sounds like they're physical. Maybe I'm a physical. Test yourself, and we figure out that you're a physical, then okay, that influence, that's how my behavior is. That's why I behave the way that I behave. We all fluctuate. Sometimes we're a little physical, sometimes we're more emotional. If you were purely emotional, 100% emotional, you'd be like a computer. You wouldn't even, you'd be a sociopath. You wouldn't even be able to have relationships. So none of us are going to score 100 on the emotional scale. But it's very interesting to look at our family units, to look at who was around us, to see how we interact and how we are the way that we are, and give ourselves a little slack. And the same thing with our partners. Cut our partners a little slack, especially those of us that are from toxic child of toxic homes, had a toxic childhood, were abused, neglected, whatever it is, it shapes you in a certain way. And it is very hard to reverse it without going through some sort of proper therapy and working on it. You cannot do it just by yourself. Believe me, you have to have constant work and constantly chipping at it. So this is our goal starting next year. We're going to come into the year and we're going to get our love healthy. We're going to get our life healthy. We're going to get our sex life healthy. Everything is going to be healthy. We're going to speak to our partners with intent, with positive intent. We're going to give ourselves a break. We're going to have a positive narrative inside about ourselves, no matter how broken we are, no matter how many failed relationships that we have under our belt. We're going to get it right, because we're going to start unpacking the shit that holds us back and that keeps having us to do this reanimation spell and this love spell. Like, believe me, I love being in business, but there's enough business to keep me in business for the rest of my life without having to see you 6 or 7 times for your failed relationships. I want success for you. I want success for you. I want love for you. I want healthiness for you. If I never see you again or never have to see you again because you watch this video, you take this test in January, and you got your shit on track, that's amazing. I've done my job. I'm a teacher and a healer. I'm not here for just money. This is my everyday. So I want you guys to live in abundance and happiness. And I want you to be able to teach other people about this. And I want you to be able to be conscious when you're raising your children that who you are around them shapes them for the rest of their life. I know that it goes without saying, but I don't think you really understand how deep it is until you start trying to unpack it out of yourself. Then you'll see how important it is to speak to your kids in the way that you want them to be able to discern. If you want them to be the person that believes what people say, that isn't guarded, that doesn't have 1,000 brick walls up, then you may have to change the way you start speaking to your babies and being more literal and making sure that you are extremely detailed and honest and upfront with them so they learn literally, even if you were raised in an emotional home. So there's, intention there that can be done. You can undo generational curses that way by just raising your children with intent, being conscious, speaking to your lovers with intent, and speaking to yourselves with intent after you learn exactly who you are and who you are dealing with. So that is my lecture today on suggestibility and sexuality. Watch this however many times you want. Don't worry about, trying to contact me and get the information. I'm going to give it all to you guys in January. I'm going to teach on this extensively. I'm going to offer the test. I'm going to offer consultations, even couples consultations, to get you guys right. So that's just a little teaser for what's to come for our Valentine's season. I'm excited about Valentine's Day. So I hope you all have a great night, and I will see you soon. Bye.